You're listening to the When Life Hands You Lennon's podcast.
But in an entry-level film production, it's one strike and you're out. You're fired. I'm not calling you back.
If your goal today is to make a basket, we're gonna make that basket.
The minute you create something, as soon as it's made tangible, you have a copyright in it.
How do I get our guys to sound that big, that full when they do the harmonies?
And I'm your host, Lennon Seahawk. Let's get to the show. Hello and welcome to this week's episode of When Life Hands You Lennons. I'm so excited to share this episode with you because it features Quinn Christopherson, who is a singer-songwriter based in Alaska, and he got his start after winning the NPR Tiny Desk competition back in 2019. And he's a transgender man, and he shares a lot of insight as to how trans people are treated in Alaska, since it is a red state, and he said that people don't often like when others are different, but he thankfully had a supportive family and friend group, and he says that the LGBTQ community is very good up there. He said it's a very unique culture up there as well. But we talk about his creative process, the NPR contest, Tiny Desk concert that he won, the tours that he went on after, and how he's doing music full time right now. He shares a lot of really interesting perspectives and kind of humbles you in a few ways to really ground yourself as a creative and musician. If you kind of doubt yourself and you question what your next step is and what you're doing with your music, he really helps you really ground yourself in the stories and the goals that you're trying to achieve. Quinn will tell his stories much better than I ever will. So before we jump into the conversation with Quinn, I want to remind you to sign up to my email list. That is the best place for me to notify you when new episodes like this are live. I'd also appreciate a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts. That really helps the show get discovered by new listeners. Follow me on Instagram. I'm very active on there and love seeing and interacting with people on there. The link is in the show notes and also on my website, lennonseahawk.com. Join my Discord server. I just started that up a few months ago, and it's going really good, and there's an amazing group of people in there, of sound designers, producers, rappers, songwriters, you name it. We're all in there sharing information and helping one another out, and that's a great community to get your foot in the door. If you or somebody you know would be a good guest for the show, there's a link in the show notes for a guest request form. Please fill that out, and I will be in touch. Let's kick in to the conversation with Quinn Christopherson. First of all, Quinn, thank you so much for joining. Am I saying that right, Quinn?
Yeah.
Quinn, great. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm really excited to chat with you.
Thank you.
And hear
Thanks
a little bit more about
me.
your story. And I think this is going to be a really good conversation. I'm interested to learn more about you and the indigenous peoples and all that stuff. I think it's going to be an interesting conversation. So tell us a little bit about you. First of all, you're in Alaska, correct?
Yes, born and raised.
Where in Alaska are you?
I'm in Anchorage, so
Okay.
biggest city.
So what's the weather like there right now?
It's great. 15 degrees right today, and snow on the ground, and yeah, it's cold. I would say I'd rather it be above 20.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So is it like that all year round, or is it warmer? I mean, Alaska's always kind of this anomaly, I feel like, in weather, because you guys have the time where the sun doesn't hit it for days or weeks at a time, and it gets dark at 2 p.m. or noon. So how is that like?
It is tough. Yeah, the darkness really gets a lot of us here. But we all kind of know it's coming, and we're all just trying to get outside and drag your friends out, even though none of you really have the motivation to.
Sure.
And it always feels good afterward, but it's hard to get out some days because the sun goes down 4:30 and it feels like the day's over, but there's so much more of the day.
Yeah, there is at 4:30. It's actually I'm in Los Angeles and it's the sun sets at like 4:50, but it gets
Yeah.
dark at like 4:30, 4:15ish. And it's like, wait, it's only 4:15, 4:30 and I feel like I should be going to bed.
Right. No, I feel like I should be putting on my relaxing clothes and yeah.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely much more difficult. I'm from Minnesota, so I definitely know where the cold is. But in the summertime, it stays light out till 10:30 in the night. And then when it starts getting dark at 4 o'clock, it's like, this is quite a transition because it happens very quickly.
Yeah. And it's so opposite in the summertime because the sun just doesn't go down. And so we just don't go to sleep either.
Wow.
Yeah.
It doesn't go down at all?
I mean, just for a little bit, like
Okay.
it'll go down like maybe for like at 4 a.m. and then come back up 5 a.m. or something. But you'll never lose functioning like daylight. You'll still have that little bit of like lightness, and it's really cool. Like, yeah, it's really cool.
Interesting. So you were born and raised in Anchorage, correct?
Yeah.
What was it like growing up there?
Pretty cool. Lots of outdoor stuff, fishing and skiing in the winter, ice skating and all the summer activities, hiking and stuff. It's like a cool place to be because nature's free,
Mm-hmm.
So it's good to like kind of grow up around that.
Mm-hmm.
Camping,
And
lots of camping, yeah.
yeah, for sure. I bet it's just beautiful up there for that type of stuff.
Yeah.
Going to school, what was it like going to school and kind of going through all of that? Did you go to college?
No, I didn't really go to college. I think I tried a semester of it and then I like stopped. Just
What were you going? What were you ultimately going to go for?
probably to find myself.
That's a good degree. I like that degree.
Yeah, I just found myself way too quick, so that's why I had to get out of there.
Yeah. You graduated way earlier than expected.
Exactly.
That's good.
Yeah.
So how long have you been out of school and kind of doing your own thing and doing music?
Yeah, I never thought that I would be doing music for for a living. I never planned on that or anything, so it's been like pretty amazing past couple years being able to do that and explore how that feels and how that's done. Before I was doing music, I was working as a counselor for the Native youth in Alaska, and then before that, I was working at the youth homeless shelter, so like some social work stuff, and so always been like around people and inspired by people, and then I won a Tiny Desk and got to go on tours with Courtney Barnett and Portugal the Man and a few other folks, and it was like time to give the music, my all, so I could put my all into getting out there and everything. And my jobs were always really supportive of it. Like they wanted me to, take that leap. So
Wow, that's really important to have a job that supports you, especially when it's you have a passion for music clearly, and that's always like that little bug in the back of your mind. It just like pushes you that you have to do music, and it's almost like a calling. And if it doesn't happen, it's like this weird struggle that we fight with as creatives. Because I'm a musician myself, and I just moved my room around to my piano is here now, so I can connect it to my computer, and I actually have something to play stuff in. Because before I just sequenced everything. So I'm hoping this will help with the motivation, and like everything is just so accessible now. But it's like that internal struggle that we all have, of like, I have to do this. This is my calling. And it's just this interesting fight that we have with ourselves for music.
Yeah, I mean, like anyone, there's a lot of pieces and parts to your life, and so you can't give music or your passions like 100%. And you have to work and make a living and be a partner and an uncle and brother and all that sort of stuff too. And so before I was doing music full time, it was like there's just a really small amount of time for it.
Hmm.
And so making that change and getting to really chase this passion and the art kind of every day is wild, and it actually opened up a lot more freedom to like explore different emotions through writing, because I think before I was using that small amount of time just to write to kind of therapize myself or feel better. And yeah, since having more time, I've been able to really explore a lot more feelings and zoom in on different moments that I didn't really expect.
Mm. So you do music full time now, correct?
Yeah.
So what's that transition like for going and working, in the social aspect, and then transitioning into that kind of full time role of doing something you truly love and your calling?
I think it was just for me figuring out how to wake up with the intention to create every day,
Mm.
and without, being afraid of that, because it could be daunting to think about it. Um, but I really take it one day at a time. Like, I have my studio kind of like yourself, got everything in this room to record and make demos and write. But I think that a song starts with like concepts and ideas. And for me, most of the time, what am I trying to say? And those ideas come from, biking around and going bowling and hanging out with people and all that sort of stuff. So I don't try to get too wrapped up into sit on this computer at this desk and write a song. I try to really like experience things and, have fun with friends and take moments and emotions from that and then, you know, write.
Mm.
So it's
So
just
when you
been
were,
like that balance.
yeah, so for you, you mentioned the kind of daunting task of waking up and creating. Um, what, in addition to that, was daunting about it? Was it the expectation that you had to write a full song? Was it something that you had a client that you had to finish a project for? Like, what about it was daunting?
I think the thing about like making art and chasing your passions is that sometimes there is no deadline and there is nothing that you have to turn in. And so it's like really within yourself and what is moving me that day. And like, yeah, I mean, like, what if I told myself, oh, I want to write another record, you know, in a year, by next year? I mean, that's somewhat like feasible, but I don't know, maybe it's not. I don't really want to have that kind of formula. I don't
Mm.
think art should come from there. And I don't know, for me personally, I want art to come from, what's inspiring and what's moving to me and like collaborating with people and that sort of thing. I don't want to like make a record because I need a record.
Mm. That's a really interesting point, and it's goes to the point that you can't force art to be created. Like it has to have time in order to kind of manifest, so you can experience the feelings and the moments and the people, conversations, and really foster those emotions into
Yeah.
a song.
Yeah.
So how do you translate those emotions and those moments in time into pieces of music?
Well, I just kind of usually think about what conceptually, like, what is there a story I'm trying to tell, or is there a moment I'm trying to zoom in on, or is there a sometimes is there like an old memory that I'd, like to revisit, you know? It's is yeah, it's like there's no rules kind of.
Mm,
Or someone told me a story and I want to tell it, you
mm,
know. Could be anything. And then I just kind of start with the one instrument and um usually like guitar, keys, maybe some percussion, and that's it. And I kind of just write to that. I take everything really simply, like just bare bones, and I try and write a good song. And yeah, I'll usually start with honestly like three chords. And if I think a song is good at the end with three chords, just guitar and vocal, then I know really it could really go somewhere.
sure. Yeah, I think if it's crazy how music does that, where if you can strip it down to like its absolute simplicity
hmm
and it's still a good song, then that means it's something.
Yeah, that's
Um,
my favorite.
yeah, for sure. I always push myself to like I have ideas. I'm not really a lyricist or an actual. I'm a producer more so. So I
Mm.
actually write the music and put all the beats in and chords and samples and all that stuff. Um, but I tend to find myself like, oh, this is really good after, an 8-bar loop. It's like, okay, I've got like three things and I kind of like the way these chords are going and I keep going. But there's sometimes where you have these chords and it's like, this isn't going to amount to anything. And you keep changing the chords and the instruments and it just doesn't work out. Um, but
I
it's
hear that.
interesting how that works.
Yeah, I really try not to get so swept up in chords and such, because like when I think about writing and I think about music, and for me, I want to, chase my strengths, and that's not usually chords. I
Mm,
kind of do what I can on here just to drive these stories and the narratives and what I'm trying to say. Um, and yeah, I feel like if I get too wrapped up in the chords, I kind of end up like holding myself back just because I know
mm,
it can all be changed later. Like, yeah,
sure.
but the story is what can't change.
Yeah, absolutely. So I watched your performance of Erase Me. I think it was on your YouTube channel.
Mm.
And I think you performed that on NPR.
Yeah.
And where the guitar had went out for like 5 seconds. Um,
Yeah, that's our that we entered the Tiny Desk contest with that video and it won. So yeah, it was the moment. That was
okay, yeah, it was
yeah.
such a powerful performance, and I found myself absolutely zoned into the story that you were telling through the lyrics, and I want to dig into it just a little bit more. So talk about how that song came about and what it means to you.
Yeah, that song I wrote after I was kind of experiencing like society perceiving me, as a man instead of this masculine woman prior. And um that's it. It really just came from this kind of change in how folks were seeing me and treating me. And um yeah, and so anyway, I wrote the song, and it turned out a lot of people like felt it
Mm,
relevant to them and their story. And obviously it was such a specific thing for me, but realizing that so many other people could kind of feel it for them, I thought that was really special.
Mm. Yeah, it was very, very special. And it was just like I caught myself just totally zoned out and encapsulated by the performance. The set looked amazing, and then just the lyrics and the story that you were telling.
Thank you.
So, talk about your story a little bit from transitioning from a woman to a man, and what that was like in Alaska.
For me, uh, pretty underwhelming. I look the same, so it's like, yeah, I don't know. That's what the song is about. Like, people really were treating me better after the fact. And I think when I was like outwardly looking kind of like masculine woman, that was, people didn't like that here. This is a red state. And like, people don't like things that's different than them. And,
Sure.
yeah, and then as I started to kind of like conform a bit more on this more masculine side of the spectrum, I just felt like a weight lifted off of me, like from that other people were putting on me. So,
Mm.
yeah.
And were you getting a lot of support from friends and family, or was it kind
Yeah.
of yeah?
Yeah. Everybody was pretty whatever. It's not, it's not that deep.
Mm.
So, yeah. Like I said, like, everyone's story is pretty different.
Mhm.
Mine, I've always worn these clothes, it's like, it's just pretty slow going.
Sure. Well, that's good. I'm glad you were able to have a support system, because I know how difficult that can be when you're really trying to find who you are and identify who you are. Not that it even matters if you put a label on yourself,
Yeah,
especially in a state that, like you said, is pretty red and conservative.
for sure.
Um,
Yeah.
it can be. Is there a lot of transgender or LGBTQ people in Anchorage or around your area in Alaska?
Oh, we're everywhere.
Oh, that's great. That's what I like to hear.
Yeah, we've got a cool scene here for sure. Um, it's a cool place for sure. Everyone should visit.
Figuratively and literally.
Yeah.
It's quite cold. But yeah, that's good. That there's a good community there, and there's a lot of people that are there to support you. So I'm really curious to learn more about. Is tribes the proper term for it that you're part of?
um,
For like
well,
your indigenous, because you're part of the Atna Abbas. I don't know.
I am Atna Athabascan and Inupiaq as well. We do have tribes. Not everybody does. So if we're talking about me as a person, I'm Atna. Yeah.
Okay. And talk a little bit about what those are, because I love learning about these types of things. So talk a little bit about what they are and what they mean to you.
What they are, it's just like if you were Irish or whatever, you're Irish, I'm Atna. That's
I
yeah.
see. Okay.
I don't know if you're Irish, but
No, I don't think I am Irish. Maybe a little bit, but not really.
yeah. We're indigenous to Alaska. My people have been just here in Alaska on these lands for generations and generations, and I come from a long line of creators and makers and people doing amazing things. My great grandfather was a violin maker, a woodworker, and really cool. And my great grandmother is named Laura Wright, and she was a famous Alaskan parkie maker, which is a Alaska Native jacket.
Mm.
For the winter, made out of fur, and other things. And in the summertime, there's summer parkies. And yeah, she had patented her design way back when, and still has the family business going in Anchorage, downtown Anchorage today. My great aunt runs it. And yeah, it's just, we grew up Native, and that's our culture, and our culture is rich in music and love and stories and art. And so that's just something that it has been ingrained in me, and that my family continues to put into our nieces and nephews and all that. So that's just who we are.
Yeah, just naturally born to create and put art into the world, and diversify so many amazing things. So how about your parents? Are your parents musical people? Do you have any siblings?
Yeah, my dad taught me to play guitar, and yeah, got me my first instrument, and it's been at all my shows.
That's great.
Every time I go on tour, he'll make a flyover to a stop or two.
Oh, that's sweet.
Definitely my biggest fan. And my mom's a big time karaoke singer, so
What's her go-to karaoke song?
Carole King, So Far Away.
Okay. I was going to say, good. I was hoping it wasn't Cyndi Lauper's Girls Just Want to Have Fun.
That's a little high.
Yeah, that's true. That's a hard one to sing.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just one of those songs that if I hear it again, it'll be too soon.
Yeah. Yeah.
But do you have any siblings?
Yeah. I've got 3 older sisters, and they don't do music, but they do other sorts of crafts and whatnot. And I have some nephews and niece, and nephew plays guitar. So
okay, so
yeah.
Talk about the NPR video submission of Erase Me, and then kind of you won, and then what happened after that.
So I submitted Erase Me to the Tiny Desk and ended up winning. And Bob calls me on the phone. He's like, okay, you won. I'm freaking out. And he goes, but you can't tell anyone for 4 days. He said, you could tell one person. I'm thinking to myself, how am I going to keep this secret?
Sure.
So I kind of kept the secret because I told 2 people.
Uh-oh.
And then, after that, I just things, started happening. I guess I only put out 2 songs independently, and I only put those songs out like right before I entered the contest. And it was like, I just never wanted to put songs out kind of on my own. And, I wasn't really happy with them either. And so I just held all my music really close to my heart. As someone who was, still like playing a bunch of local shows and doing that sort of stuff, it was like I kind of kept everything off the, internet kind of deal.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got to go on tour with a bunch of people, kind of, started a team of folks, and signed to the record label PS, and got to make a record in London. So I went over to London, worked with Bullion, who was just amazing. Like, I had just an incredible time working with him, and it was my first time in London too. So I was like riding that high, and I'm just so happy with like the work that we created. And I was there for like 2.5 months, and
wow.
It was so cool. And now got that EP out today, so it's like everything's really this is a good day to just take a moment to be proud of this work and to share it. And like I've been waiting a really long time to put more music out. So yeah, that's where I'm at. And hopefully I'll play some shows soon, but I have no idea.
Yeah, for sure. So what's it like releasing the album or the EP? How does it feel?
It feels really good. I'm really happy with the songs, and I feel like they're a fair representation of me and my writing and my silliness, and I just think it's about time I shared some stuff, but yeah, can't wait to put more stuff out too.
Yeah, absolutely. It's such an exhilarating thing to put music out because there's like so much that goes into like the pre-release, and then when it's released, it's like you unleash the cannons, and it's like full-blown marketing, promo, interviews, talking about it, social media posts, getting people to like it and download it and stream it, and it's like that whole transition from creative mode to marketing mode.
Yeah, and that's not like my thing.
No, it's not a lot of people's thing. There's so much that goes into marketing that it gets to be really, really overwhelming.
Yeah.
And quite daunting.
Yeah.
So, do you produce all of the music yourself, or do you just songwrite, or how do you kind of write music?
So I write the songs mostly in this room here, and so they don't really get produced, I would say, by me, because I keep everything really bare bones with the intention to produce it later.
Sure.
And so basically all my demos that I sent to Nathan Bullion were like three stems: vocal, key, drum, vocal, key, guitar. And then in London, we kind of redid everything and started them up kind of. Nathan, wrote some new chord changes and certain things like that, and it was really cool process to kind of see where the songs went and how that works and that sort of thing.
So is he the only producer that you work with, or do you have other producers that you work with as well?
He's the only producer I worked with for these songs, and my friend Nick, who plays guitar in the Erase Me video, he's basically kind of helped me with a lot of these songs from the start. Me and him write songs and share them with each other and kind of like say, oh, change this, change that. And so I know with Bubblegum, I played him that song and I didn't have a chorus for it. And I was like, dude, I don't know about this chorus. He's like, well, what are you trying to say? And I was just like, I don't know who I am. And he was like, that's it, And so that was the chorus. And yeah, I think that's a really good example of like collaborating with your friends and asking for help. And everybody kind of, every piece of writing that Nathan or Nick did for my songs is like made them better, and I think that's the point.
That is the point, to make songs better, to be pieces of art that you are proud of and are happy performing. So what is, you talked about your creative process a little bit earlier in the episode and how you sit down and you write a song and you're going out and you're experimenting and you're finding these different moments and you're hiking and you're out with your friends and all that stuff. Talk a little bit about how that songwriting process happens. Are you able to sit down and write for a week straight, or do you often find yourself writing for a few hours a day, or what does it kind of look like for you?
It's it's so different every time. Like this goes back to like not having a formula because I just don't want to like put myself in a box, but not even consciously, honestly. It's just like um Loaded Gun. I think I wrote in um 2 days, and then Nick came and wrote the bridge chords, and then Good Boy was written in 2 hours, sitting in the living room with my partner, kind of just rehashing like memories and experiences and like just laughing and crying and, all that. And then I have a song coming out soon, can't say when, but it took me like 3 months to get it right. And but I'm really proud of it, and I never wanted to like give up on it, but it started with a concept, and yeah, I hammered it for like hours each day, and I thought it was never going to get there, and then it got there one day, and like that was it. And so it was just like a testament, like don't give up on these like weird, horrible demos, because like they have potential.
Yeah, that's a good, and when you have something, a piece of art that you just want to be such a beautiful thing, it's like makes it even more difficult to just give up on it.
Yeah.
And it's almost like, why can't I give up on this? What about this song is allowing me or pushing me to keep working on this?
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
it's like, I don't know. It's just, you go into it with a different intention, and it has to have this message, and it just, you have to have it come out a certain way.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it's like, when do you know a song's finished? Like, I don't really. I mean, I just know like when the story is told, but yeah, it's been fun to play with that. Like, where do you start songs or stories, in what timelines, and how long is the timeline of the song? Is it years, or a week, or a day? It's yeah, it could go anywhere.
It's, I have like 5 or 6 songs that there's no lyrics, but the production is virtually completed. And I keep opening up the project file in FL Studio, and I keep like listening through and watching and looking at all the automation and everything and going, what can I do to this to make it even better?
Mm.
And I'm like, nothing. It's done. Leave it alone and move on.
Mm-hmm.
But it's so hard to do that, to just leave it. And a friend of mine connected me with a vocalist that we're going to meet up next year, I think at the beginning of the year. And hopefully that will help inspire some new ideas. But otherwise, I just sit and I play with the song, and it just, you can tweak a song for eternity. And there has to be a point where you just say, okay, I'm done. It's time to move on.
Well, you did what your strength is,
Yes.
And so I think, yeah, absolutely, it's done. And so you can, find that vocalist or writer that can bring their strength to it. And then you have this like beautiful collaboration. I have a couple, I did 2 of those with Nathan. They're not out yet, but yeah, basically I just wrote a song over his fully produced song.
And do you find that more difficult to do that, or do you find it easier to do that versus writing from total scratch?
I have found that doing that is a little more, maybe like time consuming, but it's so much fun. Like I have so much fun writing the songs and like getting through that process. And so like looking back on them, it's so fun to kind of hear something that someone made that inspires you so much to like sit with it for a few weeks. And, you know, by the end of it, it feels like a piece of yours. And I think that's a really good feeling.
So, what advice do you have to producers or even vocalists, songwriters who are wanting to work with each other or work with other, trying to find that perfect musical partner? What advice would you have as a songwriter?
That I do believe collaboration is key. I mean, I do a lot of stuff on my own too, but I think that people are so inspiring, and you know, when people do things better than you and everybody brings their different strengths to the table, I think that's when really, really good art gets made. And also it is totally stressful to kind of like nowadays with the pandemic, it's like people are getting on Zoom and writing a song, and that's like anxiety inducing, you know, like what if you don't have anything that day or whatever. And yeah, I've even done the Zoom thing, and it went great. You know, I've had like one writing session where it was like a little weird, but I think you have to have those. It's like dating, you know, you find people that you click with, and yeah, maybe you go on a second date.
Yeah,
So
that's a good way of putting it.
yeah, it's like it's totally cool that way. And I just think there's space for everything that we make. Like, yeah, I don't know. I
Yeah.
think like a big point for me, like with collaborations, I guess, is I never go into anything, you know, wanting something to have at the end. Like that wouldn't be it for me. I have to go in knowing that whatever we make can go in the trash at the end, and like really, it was just about the fun and the process, and so kind of take like the stress off of it, you know. Keep it a
So we're
little
like
less.
removing any expectations.
Yeah, no homework, no like industry weird stuff. Just do what it is, why we do it. Make this song because you want to make the song. You know, not because you want someone to hear it.
Yeah, that's really good advice. And I think we can get carried away. We start thinking about promo and releasing it and pushing it, and while we're in that creative session, and it kind of hinders the creativity.
Yeah.
And expectations. So that's a really good point. What is something right now that inspires you the most? Like anything in this moment?
Right now, because it's winter and so freezing here, a lot of TV. I've been watching lots of movies and TV, and like I just get inspired by, you know, all the dialogue and emotions and drama, and you know, it's all stories, right? And so it's just like another medium to kind of sponge off of. And yeah.
What are some shows that you watch or movies?
Recently I was really inspired by the movie Coyote Ugly. Like I hadn't watched it in forever, and then I revisited it, and it was just so good, and such good feelings in that movie of like, you know, a songwriter moving to New York to try and make it, and like everything that goes into that. And I don't know. Then she's just at the end singing on the bar, and that was all she needed.
Yeah.
And that feeling is really big, but she's just at a bar, and I feel like we all had that feeling before. You know? So
yeah, that's interesting. And some of those movies are like really humbling, and it's like you chase so many things, and when ultimately you really have everything you need right in your backyard.
For sure.
And it's like, wow, I thought I wanted to be touring stadiums like Taylor Swift, but in reality, I just have a passion for connecting with people, friends and family at the local bar or at the local hub.
Yeah.
And that's all I need.
Yeah.
And it's really kind of humbling because everybody chases that superstardom when that's not really for everybody.
Yeah.
And I that gets away from us a lot. So who is a musician that you would like to work with dead or alive, that even further inspires you?
Mm. Linda Perry.
Mm.
And maybe one more I have. Fiona Apple.
Very
Yeah.
good decisions.
Just maybe both at the same time.
Yeah. Why those two?
Because I don't really have a lot of opportunities to work with women in music. And so I always think of my collaborations, like, what kind of spaces I feel safe in. And it's around women. And I just love both of their art. Like, it's so artistic and out there. I mean, obviously, like Fiona Apple is very like sound in the wherever the sound comes from, kind of, and Linda Perry is like just a legend, and yeah, so
Interesting. Yeah, two really good, very diverse musicians as well. So talk about just briefly what it's like, because you said you don't get to collaborate with a lot of women. What is that like? Are you seeing more opportunities to collaborate? Are you seeing fewer opportunities, or what's kind of the temperature on that?
I don't know. Maybe I spoke too soon. Maybe I'm just getting started.
That's a good point. I think you have a very diverse world, and I think you will continue to transform what music is.
Yeah.
So keeping an open mind is important, and obviously the world is your apple, I guess, oyster.
I'll take it.
Yeah, for sure. Cool. Well, we've been talking for almost an hour now, and this has been a really, really good conversation. And
Wow.
you write all of your music within that room that you're in, and I can kind of feel the energy coming through the screen. There's I see the piano there. I see the two microphones. I see some clipboards with it looks like some lyrics on them.
Yes.
And a guitar in the background. Not to be nosy, but it's kind of fun to see where everybody. Sometimes there's kids running around, and it's like, what is going on there? But
no, this is a very peaceful place over here.
Yes, I don't see any kids running around, so that's good.
Just dogs.
Just dogs. Oh, what kind of dogs do you have?
I have two little ones, like little poodle and a little schnauzer.
I love schnauzers. My piano teacher when I was younger had a schnauzer, and it was the cutest little thing.
They're cute. They're loud, but
They
cute.
are loud. Yeah. What are their names?
Taylor and Ronnie, named after Sailor Moon and Veronica Mars.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's cute.
Yeah.
That's cute.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah, I love dogs. So how can the listeners keep up with you and all the music that you're working on and all that stuff?
All my music is, everywhere you stream, and I'm on Instagram and, Twitter, and I don't know, I'm not really on that actually, but yeah, you can find me. Quinn Christopherson.
Cool. I will link those in the descriptions as well so everybody can keep up with you.
Cool. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for being on the show, Quinn. Stay warm, stay safe. And I look forward to hearing more music from you in the coming months, years.
Thank you. And good luck with your produced track. I hope you get some sick vocals on it.
Fingers crossed. Crossed. I'm feeling the energy and the love. So
I
thank
feel
you.
it.
Thank you. Thank you, Quinn.
See ya.
Bye.